So you finally graduated, you passed boards, and now you're trying to figure out how you're going to determine on finding that perfect job for you as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. And as a new grad, there's so many different opportunities out there, but now you're trying to figure out which one am I going to choose. And in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 things that you should look at when looking for your first job as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So stay tuned. Welcome back to another episode of Life of a Psych NP. If you are new to this channel, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Darty. I'm a board-certified psychiatric nurse practitioner, and in this channel, I go over several different subjects to educate the public about mental health, ways to improve your lifestyle, topics related to nursing, nurse practitioners, and specifically psychiatric nurse practitioners like myself. So if you are interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe and make sure you like this video because it helps me out so much, because it keeps me motivated on wanting to make more videos for you guys. And if you haven't followed me already, follow me on Instagram at LifeofaPsychNP. So you probably clicked this video because you're interested in finding out what things I looked for when choosing my first Psych NP job. I know I kind of discussed some parts here and there in all of my videos, but I wanted to make a video about 5 things that I specifically looked at, and I over the time should have looked at even closer when finding my first job. I don't want you guys to make the same mistake, so I figured might as well make a video about it. So without further ado, let's go over the 5 things that you should look for when choosing your first Psych NP job. So let's go. So the very first thing that you should look for when choosing your first Psych NP job is the support and guidance. So when, as a new grad, you learn so much information throughout your clinical rotation, well, I hope you did, but you should have learned so much information, but at the same time, there's so much more to learn, especially when it comes to mental health and psychiatry. You have to be able to learn the ins and outs of talking to patients, how to assess patients, how to diagnose patients, how to even prescribe the right set of medications, and knowing the interactions between certain drugs, between certain medical conditions, and so many different things. And you have to look for what type of support and guidance are you going to get within the job that you want to apply for, because at the end of the day, we have to protect our license, and we have to do anything and everything to make sure that we are practicing safe using evidence-based practices. So why not choose a job that provides you with the support and guidance, whether it's going to be another Psych NP, whether it's going to be a psychiatrist, whether it's going to be a Psych PA, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure you look for a job that provides you guidance, support, and actually helps you go through different scenarios so you can make the first decision or the right decision the very first time when you see the patient. Obviously, there's going to be some one-offs where you're not going to be prescribing the right set of medications from the very get-go, because that's psychiatry for you. But for the most part, you want to make sure that you have some guidance, you have some support in people that will willing to bounce ideas off of and just be able to help you whenever you're feeling like you don't know what to do. So make sure you look for the support and guidance, especially in your first job as a Psych NP. So the second thing that you should look for when choosing your first Psych NP job is your patient load. So you have to understand how many patients you're going to see, and you need to ask how many patients you're going to see on a daily basis, or maybe even on a monthly basis, or what your patient load is in general. Sometimes people will just see so many different patients throughout the day. Sometimes people are capped off for the month or their actual patient load for the month, or sometimes you'll just be seeing patients as they come by. So you have to understand what it's going to be like for you. And these are some questions that you have to ask, because you want to know how many patients you'll see max in a day. You want to see how many new patients you'll see max during the day, because imagine seeing 10 new patients in a day. Imagine how overwhelming that'll be, because as a new grad, you don't want to see that many patients in the very beginning because you don't want to get burnt out. So you have to ask certain questions. If I were you, and if I were a new grad again, I would ask, how many new patients am I going to see a day? how many patients am I going to see total a day, and how much time I'm going to have when seeing these patients, because this is key. Because sometimes there are places where you'll see your follow-ups every 15 minutes, maybe every 20 minutes, which is a little bit fast for a new grad. I would suggest looking at a place that gives you follow-ups in 30 minutes and then having initial evaluations in 60 minutes. But sometimes you'll have initial evaluations in 30 minutes. Yes, 30 minutes. And as a new grad, nope, leave now. And sometimes you may even be asked to see a new patient in 40 minutes. Nope, leave now. You want to protect your license, and there's certain things that you have to ask for. Yes, they may pay you so much money for seeing that many patients, but at the same time, you need to be able to be safe. 30 minutes for follow-ups, 60 minutes for evaluations, and that's what I suggest. And that's for adults. For children, I would suggest at least 90 minutes for initials, or even 2 hours for initials, and then 30-minute follow-ups or even 60-minute follow-ups. So that's definitely something you have to consider. So make sure you understand what your patient load is. So the third thing that you should look for when choosing your first job as a Psych NP is your schedule. So I know I talk about schedule a lot when it comes to being an NP, and sometimes it sucks, but there are a lot of jobs out there that offer you 312s, 410s, and maybe you want to work the 5/8s Monday through Friday, or maybe you want to work on weekends. So you have to figure out what your schedule's like, because if you're the type of person that hates working Monday through Friday, why choose a job that's going to be Monday through Friday when you're just going to be miserable doing it? You want to be able to like where you work. You want to be able to like what you do, and might as well choose a schedule in the very beginning that you're going to enjoy having and you're going to like. And you have to look at different jobs that offer you flexibility, especially in this certain situation. There are jobs out there that offer 312s, and you can work one day during the weekend and you'll have so many days off during the week. So you have to find out which schedule is good for you. And it's a matter of asking them also. Sometimes you can just ask them, can I work this schedule? Sometimes they may be reluctant to do it, and sometimes they may allow it. So you have to look at certain job criteria and making sure it fits your lifestyle, because at the end of the day, you have to be happy, especially when taking care of such a vulnerable population. You don't want to show your energy and showing how you hate your job to your patients, because they may feed off of it and they may feel the same way. So you have to make sure you can choose a job that you enjoy and that you enjoy that schedule. So look at the schedule. Which brings me to my fourth point. The fourth thing that you want to look for when choosing your first job as a Psych NP is your benefits. Yes, I talk about salary. Yes, I talk about blah, 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 whatever the case may be. But you have to look at the benefits. You have to look at the PTO. You have to look at your vacation time. You have to look at the CME credits, because at the end of the day, you don't want to just keep on working and not have time off, because like I said in the last one, you want to take care of your own self before taking care of other people that are in a vulnerable state. You have to be able to understand what's going to help you. And when you have CME credits, you get to apply that towards other things, and you get to be able to gain more knowledge. Maybe you want to look at and invest in going to conferences, and that may be the case, and you have the credits to do so. Maybe you want to take some vacation time because you're feeling burnt out. Then you take your vacation time. You don't want to work at a job that doesn't offer you any benefits, because at the end of the day, it's going to burn you out. Yes, there are other jobs that will pay you instead of having all of these benefits, and it's great looking at it, but when you're 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, and you end up just resenting a lot of what you do, and you can't even take the time off because you don't have that available to you, then you're going to regret it. So make sure you look at the benefits, especially when finding your first job as a Psych NP, because your first year is super stressful and you want to be able to take some time off to take care of your mental health. So think about that. So my fifth and final thing that you should look for as a new grad Psych NP is your salary. You have to know your worth, because at the end of the day, we are worth it. We are in demand. We do a lot and we deserve more. So you have to think about those things, because Yes, salary isn't everything, but at the same time, you have to understand your worth. And you have to demand a certain salary that you feel comfortable with, because you don't want to leave these patients high and dry when you keep on looking for other jobs and you don't necessarily get into the flow of things. Yes, I always suggest looking for other career paths and being able to raise your salary here and there, but at the same time, try to get the salary that you want from the very get-go, because you deserve it. We are in demand. And obviously it depends on so many different factors, but for the most part, we are in demand. You have to look for the salary that you're going to feel comfortable with moving forward with, because you want to be able to provide the highest quality of care possible. And when you're happy with what you're doing, you're happy with what you're getting paid, you're going to be able to portray that to your patients and ultimately give them the highest quality of care that you can. And I know, salary isn't worth it, but at the same time, you have to understand this is your life. This is what you want to do in the future. This is how you're going to be able to provide the best self or best part of yourself possible. So why not look for a job that you're going to feel comfortable with, that you feel like you're going to be there long term, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you take care of yourself, you want to take care of your family, you want to take care of your patients, and you just ultimately want to do what's best for you. And this is how you do it. So make sure you guys have these things in mind, especially all 5 of these things, because obviously there's so many different other ones that you can look at, different criteria that you should look at, but these are my 5 things that I always look for, especially when choosing a job. And especially as a new grad, I wish I would have chose something along these lines, and I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I did. So make sure you look at these 5 things when choosing your first job. Obviously, if it's super oversaturated around your area, you need a job, make sure you just take any job and get the experience. But as long as you are practicing safely, you have the support in place, and you're knowing your worth, you'll do great. And I promise you, you'll do great. You'll start to learn more and all of the above. So make sure, but if you have a choice, your area, you're in high demand, make sure you look at these 5 things, because at the end of the day, it's going to keep you satisfied, and you're going to want to be able to work there longer and ultimately be able to provide the best provider to each patient as much as possible. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I was able to shed light on the 5 things that I look for when choosing a job as a Psych NP, and hopefully you can apply these things. And if you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. Ask as many questions as you want, and I'll be more than welcome to help you out. As always guys, have a wonderful day. Until next time, bye!